The only good thing about flying to Billings, as far as DeMarco was concerned, was that it was the 1st of May. This meant his chances of spending 2 days sleeping in an airport terminal due to weather-related delays were slightly less than normal. The flight, in fact, turned out to be uneventful, meaning his luggage arrived the same time he did, and the planes departed and arrived almost on time. These days, airlines consider almost on time to be outstanding performance. He checked into a Holiday Inn Express about midnight and slept without dreaming of rodents. He awoke at 8, feeling good, gorged himself on pancakes, and took off for Thorpe's place. He found it 2 hours later and thanked the Lord, as he always did, for the guy who'd invented the GPS. Whoever the guy was, he deserved the Nobel Prize and possibly sainthood. Thorpe's home was an honest-to-God log cabin, perched near the banks of the Yellowstone River and surrounded by ponderosa pines. In addition to the cabin, there were 2 sheet metal buildings the size of 2-car garages. One of the buildings was open, and DeMarco could see a snowmobile, a wood splitter, and a large rubber raft on a trailer. Next to the open garage was a shiny black Mercedes that looked out of place in the rural setting. A pile of firewood big enough to last through a cold Montana winter was stacked next to the house, and on the front porch were 2 rocking chairs. Some mixed breed of black and white dog slept between the rocking chairs, and the dog barely raised its head when it saw DeMarco. DeMarco knocked on the front door, and nobody answered. He pulled out his phone and called the number Mavis had given him for Thorpe and heard a phone ringing inside the cabin. Having no better idea, he sat down in one of the rocking chairs, ruffled the dog's head, and looked out at the Yellowstone. Montana, he had to admit, was in a gorgeous part of these United States, and he wouldn't mind spending a week at Doug Thorpe's cabin, sitting on the porch, reading mysteries, and enjoying the sound of the river going by. An hour later, a pickup truck with a crew cab, towing an aluminum boat, pulled into the driveway. 3 men got out of the pickup. The driver saw DeMarco on the porch, gave him a wave, then shook hands with the 2 men who'd been his passengers. DeMarco heard one of the men say, "Thanks again, Doug. We'll see you next year." The 2 guys, both overweight and in their 60s, wore fancy fishing vests with multiple pockets and hats with fishing flies stuck into the crowns. They didn't look like fishermen. They looked like bankers. They got into the Mercedes and took off. The dog got up and walked slowly down to greet the driver. The way it moved, DeMarco figured the mutt was about 100 in dog years. The man gave it a pat on the head and said, "Hey, Daisy." To DeMarco, he said, "Can I help you?" "My name's Joe DeMarco, Mr. Thorpe. John Mahoney sent me." Doug Thorpe was in his 70s, tall, lanky, and tanned. His hair was gunmetal gray, and his eyes were nested in a mass of wrinkles from squinting into the sun. DeMarco was willing to bet the man had better than 20/20 vision. He was wearing a green and red Pendleton shirt, faded blue jeans, and old hiking boots. He looked like the kind of guy who always wore boots. When he shook Thorpe's hand, DeMarco could feel nothing but calluses. "I appreciate John sending you out here," Thorpe said. "I hope you can help. How's John doing?" DeMarco wanted to say, "He's doing fine considering the fact that he's a devious, self-centered, crooked, conniving, wife-cheating alcoholic." But he didn't say that. Instead, he said, "He's doing fine, sir. He told me he owed you his life." "Well, I don't know about that," Thorpe said. "You want a beer? I figured we could sit on the porch and talk about Sarah." "Sure," DeMarco said. Thorpe opened the front door, which DeMarco noticed wasn't locked, and Daisy followed him inside. He came back a moment later with 2 cans of Coors. He handed one to DeMarco, popped the top on his beer, and said, "About Sarah. She's my granddaughter. In fact, she's the only family I have left."